Kings and queens, boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to my podcast, SUITMAN'S Niche. Of course, here in my club at Chris's Gallery. Of course, this is being broadcasted here in New York, and I'm very, very delighted to be here once again with you. And of course, this is where we talk about all of the niche, of course, by Suitman. And you're probably wondering at this point, what is Suitman? Well, Suitman, is really, um, it's a name that I came up for myself. I guess that really is my artist name now. But really, when I was live and on TikTok, and people started calling me Suitman, because I always would wear suits when I play my piano during the live, and so I thought it was probably maybe a nice little idea if I do maybe call myself Suitman from now. I'm not too sure though. I don't know. But anyways, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the podcast, of course, where we talk about all the niche that the 99% of the population will not comprehend, only the 1% will. Ladies and gentlemen, today I want to talk about something that has been caught to my attention. And trust me, not a lot of things catch my attention because, of course, a lot of the things in the world really don't interest me, or I really don't care about a lot of the things in the world. But if I do care about some things and somebody, I give it my all, of course. People around me know that, with my artistry, with my creations, of course, with my performances, I think it's safe to say that I take it too seriously. But one thing I want to perhaps talk about today is of how perhaps what our approach should be if we want to create the best result of our work, of our result at our athletic abilities, result in our tests, exams, anything that has a result. If we want to be good at it, if we want our result to be the best, our best, how is there a way? Is there a way? And if so, how? What? And so on and so forth, right? And so, I am so blessed. We are all so blessed of this infinite source of information that we have. That's a separate conversation to be had, but of course, we cannot deny that we are overwhelmed with information. And now, back in the days, we used to look for informations, and we would find it so precious if we do find an information that we were curious about. But nowadays, it's completely changed. We live in a completely different era, a modern era, where, of course, information is everywhere. And so now what we do is we tend to not look for information, but we tend to look for the right information, for the best information. Again, we're going to talk about that. That's another niche that we're going to talk about, of course, on another time. But for now, I came upon this great documentary about athletes, specifically more about cyclists. My friends, my wife, my family members do know that, of course, I'm an avid cyclist. And during my off trainings, I'm so passionate about cycling. Of course, still, I'm still learning so much from the best. But even during the off seasons, I take it very seriously with my weight training. I love it. It's a whole artistry. It's amazing. But anyways, So anyways, um, I came upon this documentary about how athletes, when do athletes create the best results? And they kind of formed this um, this conclusion after years of research of from the top of the top players when we know about sports such as Tiger Woods, Tadej Pogacar, of course, in cycling, LeBron James, and basketball. So they did years of research, really studying these modern era athletes and to really try to figure out how is it possible that they not only was the best at what they do, but continue to maintain their best of the best results when it comes to their craft, when it comes to their athleticism. Because I think you and I both can really know that that is not easy. It's one thing to win at something. I think maybe perhaps you won at your spelling bee at elementary school, or you won a piano competition, or perhaps something that you competed in when you were very young, when we were in school. It's one thing to win at something just once, but to maintain, to win at something every single season for not just only a couple of times, not just a couple of seasons. I have to, of course, mention that it is years. I mean, just layers, years, decades of the best results that these modern athletes really try to maintain and did maintain through their, of course, sheer hard work, their passion, their talent, their sacrifice, and so on and so forth. So, what is the bottom conclusion that these researchers found between these top of the top athletes? And this is a hot take, but I'm sure people, of course, would agree with me. Like, the people who know would agree with me. Some people say, "Oh my gosh, why do they get paid millions of dollars to, to play at their sports?" But I, I have to just kind of stop you right there. It's what you don't see. It's psychologically so tormenting to be the top of the top athlete. When it comes to endurance sports, when it comes to competitive sports, and any kind of sports, to be the best at something, to be the best at any sports, not just once, but after year after year after year, it's really, you have a person just has to let go of something so big to maintain, to continue to train, to continue to be focused and to be locked in at that level. You have to be just completely different. And I think it is worth that, millions of dollars that they receive. I think it is worth it in their perspective, because on their end, they're giving up something that you and I get to enjoy. For example, a leisurely time, or time with our families, or just psychologically, us not having to be so focused and locked in all the time. It's a different dimension that they have to live in, and so I think it is completely justifiable. It's really what you and I don't see in these athletes that they have to go through behind the curtains. But anyways, so what is this correlation behind these top to top athletes? Well, Of course, it's hard training, it's sheer dedication, passion, work ethic to be the best, to continue to strive, to continue to push, to continue to work harder than your co-athlete. Yes, of course, we all know that. But actually, this is very interesting. The researchers have found that between these athletes, before their tournaments, before their competitions, before their grand tours, the conclusion has been made that these athletes were in a good mood. Now, what? In other words, any kind of negative connotations, any kind of negative emotions withdraws a person from performing their best. I'm going to repeat that one more time because it was just such an eye-opener for me. Any kind of negative connotation, any kind of negative emotion, frustration, anger, sadness, agony, anything negative that our brains, our body don't want to feel, it withdraws a person from performing their best. Now, so that got me thinking, wait a minute. This modern era is so keen to that. In other words, I see the modern world and I see how people interact, and it's not out of love, it's not out of compassion and respect and love and joy, but majority, it's majority of the people, it's just with hatred, with that passive aggressiveness, it's that negative connotation. So it got me thinking, wait a minute, if only us, you and I, can respond by love, can react by love, if we can choose to give that smile to the stranger, if we can choose to be nice, if we can choose to, perhaps it's not about, facing our problems every day, but perhaps once in a while to think of another person's problem and trying to solve it and trying to help for them. How might it affect our performance, our work, our artistry, our result? And so there's the answer. If we want to be the best, if we want to continue to be the best, if we want to create the best result of ourselves in whatever we do with our talents, with our dedication, with our knowledge, with our artistry, we must be in a good mood. We must feel at peace with ourselves. We must feel at peace with others. We must be filled with love and joy and compassion, so that we may create the best result for, of course, the world to enjoy and for the world to see and to ponder upon. Ladies and gentlemen, kings and queens, boys and girls, I tell you this. SUITMAN wants to tell you that if you have a problem with your parents or with your siblings or even with your friends, if you have a problem, again, well, I do not know how to solve that problem for you because all the problems that you are facing is different. However, I want to tell you to solve that problem. To solve that problem not by avoiding it, but to solve the problem by you sacrificing yourself with love for the other person first. And I know that's so hard to do. I really do know that is so hard to do because we're all human beings. You're telling me that I'm the victim. he's or she is the one who, who hurt me. But you're telling me to offer my hand first to them? Well, ladies and gentlemen, I can assure you this. It's either you hold on to your agony for the rest of your life, or you choose to let go and you choose to move on and be the better version of yourself. Which one will you choose, ladies and gentlemen? My kings and queens, boys and girls. And that is a question that I always ask about to myself, And especially for me, I don't really have a lot of problems with people. My relationships are very, very good. It's at peace. And I like to maintain it that way because if I even have like the slightest problem with anybody, then it affects my creations, it affects my artistry, it affects my expressions. But sometimes you just can't avoid it. Like, for example, like when I'm driving and there's a guy who cuts me off, so, and like these small things, it gets on my nerves, right? Well, I can choose to follow him or like chase him or like honk at him, or I don't know. Or I can just kind of choose to let go, take a deep breath, move on, and go about my day. And so, ladies and gentlemen, we must always be with peace at ourselves, with peace with ourselves, with peace with others, loving ourselves, only by positive cognition, ladies and gentlemen. Only by positive reinforcement can we be the best, and can our surroundings be the best, and of course, can we continue to be the best version of ourselves with our work, with our results, and so on and so forth, ladies and gentlemen. So, I'm going to ask you this. Will tomorrow or will today be your day, perhaps, where you find peace with yourself? Not because you just have to, but, well, because you want to be the best version of yourself, because you want to actually create something that you did not think you can. Good mood, it comes from sacrifice. Love, it comes from sacrifice. It comes from letting down our ego and just kind of letting it go to the world. Ladies and gentlemen, my kings and queens, please be at peace with yourself. Thank you so much for joining SUITMAN'S Niche, where 99% of the population will perhaps take it as a hot take, disagree on. Only the 1% will truly know. If you know, you know. Ladies and gentlemen, I certainly hope you enjoyed my podcast for today. Good mood produces the best results. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much. I'll see you next week. Until then, bye-bye.